Right, like I said, it's always what you can't see which is the problem. So underneath this step, this is all gone. This is why I got some help. I'm going to get all this cleaned out, ready for welding. So all the old flaky bits of paint off, all grinded down, all the old bits cut out, ready for the new bits to be welded in. Right, we've cleaned a lot of it out, and in certain ways we're kind of lucky because I don't have to go into this. I just need to repair a 90-degree lip up to here. I don't have to make all these, which is going to be a lot easier. But the box is gone inside here, so I'm going to have to cut all this away, this lip away, to repair the inner box, and then repair this section and also put the return lip back in there as well, and then repair stuff like this and whatever else we find. In this video I'm going to show you how to hand make all this. It might look daunting, but believe me, I'm going to show you how to do it with simple tools and very simple way of doing it. Hello and welcome to another Bodgit and Leggit video. Yes, we are finally getting onto this step. As you can see from my previous videos, you'll know how we got this far. All we've done is, because my dad was helping me, because it's his van, all we was doing was cleaning all the rust off and seeing where we was going. Now again, normally you wouldn't do that. Normally if you're making stuff you would kind of leave the rust there and make it from it, but this is very simple. It is just 90-degree bends. There's nothing really to it, so we could get away with cutting out the rust to see exactly where we're going. Lucky enough we don't have to make all these grooves here, but again we could do some body shaping on that where you actually make it on the body as you weld it in. Very simple, but we don't have to do that. We just literally have to make loads of plates, 90 degrees bends and stuff like that. But what thing you need to do is you look at the whole picture. We cut this out because this was rusty. Don't go and try and weld this one in straight away first thing, because you can see, look, this is weak. If I start welding this panel in because you think, oh, this is the smallest and easiest, I want to get one thing out of the way and do it. No, you'll warp this panel because there's no strength to this panel at the minute. It's strong down here where it's connected, but where it's not connected, it's really weak. So leave that to the last. What we've got to do is we've got to make this internal box section. Now what I have done is I put the rust treatment all inside here, and you can see that's the big hole up there. See where my finger is? Like, ooh. That's the big hole we made in the outside panels for all the water and crap to go down. So it's a good thing on these vans or any vehicles to keep all them clean, because it will stop it from rusting as quick anyway. So what we've got to do is we'll just do this simple, very simple. So the first thing we need to do is, and you just do it in stages, we need to make this box section whole again. We've got a box section across here, then we've got a lip covers the box section that ties in the step, and then we've got the same thing on the inside. Then we just need to make these return lips and we need to repair that. I mean, it is simple. It sounds complicated, but also remember, we're not doing any beauty competitions with this. This is just going to be strong, structural and practical. So I'm not going to do any grinding of the welds. Now I will be grinding the welds down here because when you open the door you will be seeing it, but all inside here is covered by a plastic step, and all underneath here you can't see. So I'm going to be doing I might knock the heads of the weld, but I'm going to leave the weld there. It'll add a bit more strength and it's going to be absolutely fine. So the first thing I've done is I've made a template for the first one we're going to use, and this is just an old circlip that I put in just to hold the cardboard. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to weld underneath these lips, and I'm going to weld this box section to this here. And the reason why I'm going to do it underneath is so when I make my plate to go on top and the return lip, I'm going to weld my plate to this box section that I've made next to the weld. Then I can grind both welds down, put a very small skim of fillers there, and it's going to be fine. I'll show you as we go on, but believe me, it's simple. So this is just a quick template, and the only reason I put that in there so I could hold it. So we fit this in and lift this up. So this essentially is going to be welded in underneath the lip, so underneath that lip, and underneath that lip there. We're going to weld that in first. Then we can make everything from this. I can then make this lip here with the return lip, and we can weld it to that. Then I've got to make another panel with 2 bends for the little channel across here, and then that will do one of two things, because this return lip here, we have to make 2 lips. So one lip's going to be a 90-degree bend here, and the other panel's going to have a 90-degree bend. So there's going to be 2 mil of steel all in here. I'm using 1 mil cold rolled steel. That's what I'm going to be using. But again, you can use anything you really want, old car parts, anything like that. We might even use some of the bits we've got left over from the rear that we repaired all down there. So we might even be able to recycle some of the steel from that. We'll see. Right, hopefully you can see everything. Should be able to. So I've got my plate cut out, and I put some screws on it so I can hold it, because obviously the downside of this, I can't get anything underneath to hold this into place. So that's the downside of it, but we don't need to. And yes, it looks like there was some grooves cutting and stuff into that box, but again, we're not worried about any of that. We don't need to do any of that. I haven't put any protection on this because, again, you can see where my finger comes through here. I can then shoot after it. I can put all wax oil and stuff all inside these holes to, you know, to make it protected, because whatever I paint on here, because I'm welding all the way across each edge, plus then I'm putting another plate on and welding it, whatever I put on is just going to burn off. But this now slides in place, and with these it allows me, look, see that? I can now weld that. Yes, I've got a lip, I've got a step down lip, which isn't great, but this is just the box section. When I make my top section to go on here and I weld to it, it'll be nice and flush then. But not only that, when I make my top section with my return lip on, I can weld to this here. So I've got a lot more structure to weld to. This is going to work really nicely. So what I have to do first is, I can see I've got a low spot here. I'm going to have to angle the piece of metal up there like that first, weld that in place, and then bend it back into place there, and we're all good to go. So I can just see there might be a bit of a burr there. See if we can take that off. Let's try and get this in place a bit better. So I think I need to do something along them lines, just get a tack in there just like that first. Right, where am I going to put my earth? Will it fit under here? There we go. There we go. Now, my earth's out of the way. Now, let's see if I can do this. Now, so first things first, let's just make sure we are lined up and try and get that into place just there. I'm going to have to do this without a mask because I haven't got my mask with me, and I need to, this isn't the right place. Let's get a tap there. Probably not using a mask, you can't exactly see where you're going. Nope, wrong place again. There we go. Now, happy enough with that. What I'm hoping now is I should be able to lift this up into place. Just like that. So I might have to weld a few more of these little tabs on just to hold it in place for me, but wherever it lines up flush, I can put a tack in now, and then I can you know, cut these off and move them essentially. So I can see it lines up fairly nicely there. There we go. That's fine. And the more I get it welded in, the easier it is to bend into place. So, but I also need to make sure I'm not losing, you know, I'm not welding in an angle, so because that needs to go over there a bit like that to keep in with everything. Right, no point me showing this on camera because it's going to be boring. It's just going to be me moving this around, cutting it up, putting it into place, getting a few tacks when it's all into place, as good as it's going to be. Again, it's not vitally important, it's not the end of the world. if it's not deadly straight, or if there's a bit more of a lip on one side than the other, because you're never going to see this, but it's going to be very strong, which is all that matters. Right, as you can see, we're getting there now. Every tack I do, it gets stronger and stronger, comes into play. It's just tying the bottom box together. And like I said, I will grind off these welds, and my next piece of metal, to give you an idea what it's going to be like. If you imagine this is my next piece with the return lip, it's going to sit on there, but once it sits on there, it's going to be flush. Oh, try and hold it. It's going to be flush with that step there. So because the weld's going to come to about here, so I'm going to go to about there, weld this to the weld that I've welded on there. Did that make sense? And then once I grind that off, there's going to be very, very little bit of fillers on there, because you will see this, so I will put a little bit of fillers on here just to kind of blend it all in. But that's essentially how it's going to work. It's going to be nice and strong, it's going to be practical, it's going to do what it needs to do. I just haven't decided yet which lip I'm going to make first. I don't know if it's, I think it's going to be easier to make this one inside and then make the outside one, but I don't know yet. I'm just going to finish tacking this into place. You really don't need to see it because I'm doing nothing different. I'll only be speeding it up, you'll just be seeing the welds tacking in place, so it's not really a big deal. Once I got it all in, I'll turn the camera back on. You'll have to go back and watch my other videos, because obviously in the other videos I'm saying a lot more different things, and because I'm filming all these videos one after the other, to keep repeating myself, it just feels weird. So I might be saying different information in all the videos so you get an idea. But one thing I will say again is, I know people always struggle with things being warped, and the trick is just to take your time. When you weld two pieces of metal together, they're going to shrink in the middle. It just will, because the heat, as it shrinks, it pulls the metal in and it causes it to warp. I see people get an airline and they'll do a load of spot welds and they'll get an airline and blow it down. That will cause it to shrink and warp even more, because you're cooling it down quicker, too quick, and it has to go somewhere and it shrinks. So you just do your spots. This might be hot, which it isn't. Do your spots, let it cool down so you can physically touch it, where it's just, you know, one spot every inch or so. You might have to wait 15-20 minutes between each run of weld you do, but that's just what you have to do. This is not too bad because it's, you know, it's tied in at all the sides, and we're going to do a return lip, so it's going to be very strong. So this isn't really going to warp anywhere as such. If it does, you're certainly not going to notice it. It's not like a flat panel like the other one that I was doing. So just take your time, do not cool it down by air, just let it kind of cool down naturally, and you're going to be fine. But you can start seeing now just how strong this is, and it's only tacked in a few spots, so it's amazing just how quickly and strong it becomes. I'm just going to keep going all the way around until it's welded, but it's going to take a long time, believe it or not, to do it, and we can start grinding and making our next panel. Right, I had to stop myself because I was just about to do some body shaping, and I've said this in other videos before. It's amazing what you can actually do, believe it or not. Even this sort of shape here, you can actually make on the car. I call it body shaping, where you would weld a piece of metal on across the top, then you would shape it, weld it, shape it, weld it, and you'd be surprised on what finishes you can actually get. Now again, it's only really designed for bits you can't see. You will struggle to kind of do it on flat panels and stuff like that, and panels that are shown. But for panels like this that, you know, doesn't have to be perfect, but just has to be strong and good, is absolutely sound. Now you can see that there was those two big indentations here which I never put into this. I've now welded essentially each side of them, and just look with a hammer. I'm stretching the metal down. Now you can go as far as you want with this, but I'm just going to stop here. There we go. We've created them two very quickly. For me to kind of do that off, like, look, I said, I wasn't bothered. I'm only kind of showing you on this. I was never going to put them in. It's not an issue. But you can just see how quickly and easy you can put shape into it, as long as you've got it welded in certain places, because I'm now stretching this metal. So I can now continue welding. Right, it's all welded in. So what I'm going to do now is just grind the heads of it off. Because like I said, I just need really this flat along here and flat just to lay my next panel on. It looks kind of warped here because that's where we bent it in, but I think on camera it kind of looks warped. It's okay. You know, I could have gone maybe a bit slower than what I did, but look, it doesn't really matter. But you see, all that's all I have to do is make the weld level with this. I'm not worried about that gap there, because like I said before, that gap there now, let me get a smaller piece. So that gap there now, when I come to put my new plate, I'm going to weld right next to that, and then it's going to be completely flat, well, more or less, you know, with a bit of fillers. So I'm not worried about this gap. I just need to get the weld level with this lip here and around there and just there. Make that flat, knock off the head of the weld there, and that really is it. It's going to be it's going to be grinded in, you know, relatively quick, if I can get angles. Right, let's knock off these, and then I'm going to make the other panel. I don't know, I'm mostly going to make the inside panel first, because that's going to be the harder panel to make, because there's going to be two lips on that, and one is going to be 90 degrees, one isn't exactly 100% 90 degrees. And this one then should just be fairly straightforward with a 90-degree bend. You know, simples. Right, so what I like to do is I just like to get a piece of this is a piece of metal off the back quarter that we were repairing, just a little bit of an offcut. It's always handy to keep, because they do come in handy. And I'm just kind of looking to see what's the best way of making it, what should I do, what shouldn't I do, because there is never a plan. When I do something like this, there's never a plan. It evolves as you work on it. But what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to get a piece of metal. Obviously I'm going to cut it too long, because I've got to make two return lips. So I'm going to cut it to about here, which is too long. I'm going to make my first return lip, which I'll show you. I'll put in the vise and just bend over 90 degrees, even though it's not exactly 90-degree bend, to be fair. I'm going to make it long enough to fit into here, and then I'm going to work out where my second bend needs to be, and then do my second bend. Because what I have to do is my second bend has to start here but also stop, because this is the full piece here. Then I have to make a little piece to go into there and weld it on. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Cut a piece of metal. It's a shame I don't have one long enough. This is all the offcuts I've got. But I mean, that's long enough to go into there, but I'd have to make that piece separately, which isn't, I mean, these two pieces together will do it. So maybe we'll just use these two pieces and save my big sheet. That's what I think I'll do. So I might even, can I try and use that as a bend? No, unfortunately I can't, because it's not big enough. Is this bend in the wrong place though? So in other words, do I have enough room? What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this off here and I'm going to see, because I'll be able to flatten that out then, and I'll be able to see, can I do something like that with them two pieces. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do, try and save some metal. So I've cut off the end. Let's see if we can flatten this to see if it's going to make sense for us. I think it's going to work. What I'm going to do is bend my first return lip. Right, what I'm going to do is, I know this is more or less the same, well, the perfect height I need, so I've just measured that. Put this on the edge, on the straightest edge, because that's the edge that's going to be cut. So that, yeah. And then just mark this. Very easy. All right out. And put in the vise. Smack it with a hammer. I mean, it really is as simple as that. So I want the bend to be at the mark, so just have it slightly above. This vise is broke, which is not ideal to say the least. Actually, we'll use the table. We'll use the table. So much easier. Metal table, got a nice edge. Like I said, it's not perfectly 90, perfectly 90 degrees straight, the first bend, but we can bend it when it's on the car. We can do a bit of body shaping. Right, there's our first bend. See what it looks like. Right, looking good. It's too high, which is, we knew, it's not a big deal. What I got to work out now is where I need to bend, and to be honest, wow, there is a line in here already on, which lines up with that perfectly. So all I'm going to do, I'll mark it to be on the safe side. I'll just mark exactly where I need my bend to be, which is there, and here. Right, I got my two marks. Now what I'm going to do is literally bend this whole thing up to there, which is too much, but I can cut it off after, so it's no big deal. Second bend, I'm going to use the vise. I've transferred my marks to the other side. Just, yeah, so I know it's there, which just makes your life easier. But this is the problem with this vise, like this keeps falling down. So I'm going to have to do it. Get it in place, tightened up, and just first I'll bend it just by hand first, get the bend started. Oh, that fell down. I can't have that falling down. See if I can wedge something in there, stop that happening. Right, I found something. It's not great, but it's going to keep it kind of up so I can see exactly what I'm doing and where the bend is. Right, if you noticed, it gets wider as it goes down because it's not perfectly straight, the part we're making. So that there now is our trough. So hopefully that should now fit in and I'll be able to cut this later. Let's find out. Oh, look at that. Need to bend this slightly a bit more, but that lining up with that nicely and line up with this one nicely. Awesome. Right. Oh, it's one thing I didn't think about. This shape here. Bagger. I should have cut this into here a bit more like that, maybe. So I could, I'll just have to add a little piece in there. It's not the end of the world. It fitted, but I just wanted a more of a sharper bend rather than kind of a roll. You can now see how much sharper bend that is, and this is kind of a roll. I'm still not worried about this. I'm more worried about that at the minute. So I'm just refining it really on the vise. Simple. We got a trough. And yeah. Alright, let's test fit it again. Okie dokie. Ah yeah, a lot better. Right, I think I'm going to butt it up next to this one here and make a little piece for that there, because if I butt it up to there I still got to make a little piece for there. So also you got to remember we need this, where is the other piece? We need this far enough away so when we put our second piece in, which you can see here, that's now nice and smooth. So that's what we got to be aware of. We can't have this flush with that because then our second piece is going to be over the top no good. So we need our second piece flush with that and our first piece flush with the one on the inside, because like I said, well, up here there's actually 3 skins together, and you can see that there's actually 3 skins. Down here there's 2, and up there there's 4 skin. God, fucking hilarious. So yeah, I don't know if I should cut it now or after I start spot welding it in. It's going to be easier for me to spot weld, or to weld this side when that's cut. What should I do? Should I cut it now, or should I just at least get it welded in and cut it? I think I'll just tack it in place, then I'll cut it. So let me just get this tacked in place and then I'll come back. Okay, what I've done is I've made this other little piece. Now again, just cut a piece of metal off and bent it in the vise. That's all I've done. I've also fitted that piece in there. Everything is just literally tacked, and the reason why it's tacked is because this is like a jigsaw. You know, just making one piece, putting it in and then welding it all around isn't necessarily the answer. It is in certain places, but not all the time. So I wanted to make sure that this plate lines up with this plate, and when I put it in, this is also these door steps kind of, you know, they flow, they're not dead straight. This is where a stringer stretcher will come in play. I don't have a stringer stretcher, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to body form this, and I'll show you that once we actually come to it. But one thing I did notice, again, when this was on, it fits really nicely here, but look at the big gap we've got here. Big, huge gap. So I'm going to have to cut that little tack weld and just bring this in a bit closer to make that gap nice and closed, basically. Because what we're going to have to do is, eventually, we're going to have to spot weld these two together once we've cut them all down. But I need them, if I was to put that close to there, you can see how far we're off. Not worried about this line here, but we're completely off where the actual seal is. Perfect that side, off this side. This is why we just tack. So I cut that tack, move it forward, re-tack it, bish bash bosh, Bob's your uncle, Fanny's your aunt and all that, and we're good to go. Okay, so I've moved that back. It's nice and good fitment now, but as you can see, this bows, because that's what naturally the doorstep does. Stringer stretcher would sort that out in no time. I haven't got one. I've welded the 2 ends, so the 2 ends can't move. We can stretch it, very simple, with a chisel. can see how it's going. It is bowing that slightly, but we can get around that. So once you're happy with the actual fitment of it, which we are really close there now. I don't know if I'd go much further, to be honest. Yeah, I think I can get away with that. Right, what I'm going to do now is, you've seen on my previous video, you've even seen on this, I'm just going to spot all this, get it all going, get it all in, get it all welded, then I'll turn the camera back on. Right, another reason why I wanted to make this, you know, both pieces together is because when I cut it, I'm cutting both of these pieces together and I know they're going to be both exactly the same. It's easier than cutting one and trying to match the other one. So all I'm going to do is, I've got my level here, so I know, and we'll just mark that across there. Simply, it goes up at the edge like that. Now, I'll cut that. I know that's my return lip. Then the only thing I did forget to do, like an idiot, I should have put my holes in there first for my spot welds. I might just use my spot welder, I don't know yet. We'll see. I can drill the holes in afterwards, but just would have been a bit easier if I didn't do it that way. You can see this now, I don't know if the camera's showing it, but basically between there and there is flat. You see that? So it's just the weld that's sticking up. So once I grind down that weld, hopefully you can see that. Can I get something better? There you go, look. Now you can clearly see it's nice and flat, it's just the weld sticking up. So once I grind down that weld, it's going to be really quite close, not going to be perfect, but a skim of fillers and she'll be batter, she'll be bloody batter. So yeah, but what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut that. Once I've got that cut, I might drill the holes, do the spot welding, and then I want to show you the body form for this down the back here. Then what I will do underneath, I'm going to seal all this underneath with sealer, so you know all the parts that I've done, so no moisture or any crap can get in. We'll paint it all, then we will wax oil it all, which will give it the extra layer of protection. Right, I've cut my line, but what I want to do now is do the old body forming. So what we need to do first, get me hammer. Where's my hammer gone? I was literally using it like a second ago. What the actual... Where's it gone? Here. Get this. Close. We need to push that on there and get a spot weld on it. Again, doing this without a mask, it's not the best. Now I've got that spot on it. We'll get a spot on either end of that. Use the old mask, and now I can't see because I haven't got enough light. Spot the weld so I can see. Yeah. Now we've got a spot at each end. Now obviously this was two pieces of metal. This is going to be a little bit harder because it's one piece, but once I spot each one of them, I'll bend them separately as I go. You can clearly see what it does. Then I just spot weld them, and that's really body forming. You know, it's amazing how much you can move the metal once it's welded. So you can see that now. I'm just going to go around spot welding all this, doing a bit more body form. I might turn the camera up as I'm doing maybe the last bit, and yeah, this is looking a lot better than it did this morning. Right, I said I'll just quickly film this again. So I've just put spots on each of the flat parts, but you can see where it kind of goes in. I haven't done anything yet. So this is obviously going to be, that was easy because this end was open, this end was open. All these ends are closed. But again, you just take your time. Kind of start from the bottom and work your way up. Now there will be times where you come to the, you know, the metal will split. But at the end of the day, you got a welder in your hands. It's not a big deal. This is why this is really good for, like I was saying, for parts you can't see. But again, you'll also be amazed just how far the metal can go. Start in the middle and work your way out. That's where it needs to stretch the most. Look at that. Takes a bit of practice because you have to work the metal. You can't just smack it. You have to work the metal and you have to massage the metal. Change pitch. Oh, why has it done that? Maybe that's moving a bit now because I haven't tied it all in together. No, should be okay. Off you go. I haven't ripped the metal, I haven't done anything, I've just stretched it. And there we go. See, I can now weld all that. What I've also got to do, which I'm not going to show on camera, I'm going to weld the underneath. So the lines we've got there, I'm going to weld our new pieces to these pieces as well. But I'm going to do that obviously off camera. There we go. Just need to weld all this together now. What do you think? A bit overkill for doing spot welds? Isn't it stupid, some of the stuff you need? Like, granted, you don't need all that to do one spot weld, but you know what I mean. Right, we just need to take a minute and just look at that spot weld. Look how perfect it is. That's no grinding, that's no nothing. I don't need to grind that. I've showed on my previous video how I do spot welds. And I'm not saying every single one of them is going to turn out like that, because a few always go wayward. But I guarantee you, you will not find and see a finer spot weld than that. And yeah, ignore that weld because it always looks bad when you spot weld like that together. But look at that! Look at that! Beautiful! Look at them awesome plug welds, people. They are absolutely perfect. I do not even need to grind them. Now, if you want to know how to make them and be as good as me, it's very, very simple. What you need to do is get a Feronius Transsteel 2200 because this welder does everything for you. It's got synergy mode. I've showed it in my previous video as well. It just does everything for you because if you like, you know, you're not welding every single day, you're doing a car maybe, you know, up once a year or whatever, and you're welding once a month, and you know, you forget the settings, different steel, different this, blah 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 blah. It's really annoying. Also, if you want to learn how to make this awesome welding cart that holds 2 bottles, because this welder takes 2 bottles, check out my channel because I've also done videos on that. But let's say we want to weld 1.3 mil steel, which is really weird, I know, but anyway, there you go. 1.5 mil. 2 mil, 2.6, 2.5, 3 mil, let's keep going, 3.5, let's keep going, 4 mil. Look how quick and easy it is. Let's just put this back to 1 mil before I forget. It does all the settings for me instantly, quickly, and like that. All I've got to do is bloody weld. Don't have to worry about any of that. Awesome. Right, I've just cut out a piece of metal for the hole over here, and I've got a little magnet just to hold it in place. I just want to get my 4 corners in first. This corner is flat, that one isn't. Again, don't worry about making it fit perfectly at first, even though this is going to be technically a proper butt weld. I'm still not going to grind the weld down because it's all under plastic. There is absolutely no point in the world. Completely moved on me. Bagger. You little bagger. Okay, start again. Get out of the way! I don't know how it moved on me. Okay, now that corner is good. Just keep my finger on there. Geez, they're making a bit of a balls of this. Doesn't need to be this bloody hard. Right. Lift that up there. Level. Now, that is my 4 corners in, and we are nice and level, see? Not that, again, it's not crucial for this. I'm just going to spot weld it all the way around, and then, yeah, we're done. Right, we are all done. It's all in, and I've re-welded underneath, and I've also put a plate on, which I can kind of quickly show you. Can you kind of see? Yeah, you can kind of see. Anyway, it's very dark. You can kind of see. So I've welded around where I've put that, and I've also put another plate for extra strength. This now is absolutely solid. I mean, it really, really is solid. If you want to know what I do next, watch the other video with the rear quarter panel, and that's because I'm going to etch prime this. I'm going to seal all my welds. I'm going to undercoat it, blah, blah, blah. I've done all that in a previous video, so there's no point repeating on this. But as you can see, very simple tools. It takes time, but very simple tools. We've completely made all that back up look. All looks good. And there we go. So as always, hope it helps. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget, links up here, links down below. But most important, don't forget, get your hands dirty. See you for the next one. Sorted.